I am Avery Allen. I'm the session facilitator. Today I use she, her pronouns, and I am located in Temple Hills, Maryland. I'm originally from Greenville, South Carolina, and currently I serve on. I work with Move On. I'm a social media organizing strategist for our team, and I'm very excited to be here with you all today to go over learn your voice, use your platform. It is so. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, this session, as you know, is a beginner level session that offers an overview of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. What we'll be talking through today is some key messaging points, how to understand, like some more in depth information. I've seen kind of in the chat as we were waiting for this session to formally begin, lots of folks already have some experience with social. Certainly with like understand posting for your own personal storytelling online, as well as maybe for other volunteering or for campaigns that you've been involved with. So we're talking about the platform key features as well as how to effectively craft messages, and we're going to get some exercise with that today, hopefully. So because we're going to do this exercise of how you can prepare a message, write it based on your perspective, your personality, and so let's go ahead and get into it. So before we jump into the rest of our content, I definitely want to begin this conversation with equity in mind through an equity lens. Equity practice in social media is a very important part of the work that we are doing in the progressive movement. It's part of what sets us apart from other movements happening at the same time, being sure to incorporate and respect and welcome all the various perspectives and experiences and identities that folks are bringing to the space. So this is some kind of guiding questions, leading questions that help us use our equity lens on social media. First being, am I of the impacted community? Should my voice be centered? Generally, we operate on a principle of those closest to the pain should be closest to the power, meaning their voices are centered, they are up front, they are amplified. If we are in a marginalized identity as a Black woman, a Black Southern American woman, I lead with that identity first. And I feel that there's some things I just don't have the range to speak on. And I'm happy to uplift those who do or who want to be that voice. If the answer is, so if you're not of the impacted community, who can you uplift and what spaces? Who can you amplify? And that's generally someone you may know. A big factor in identifying who you should uplift, who to amplify are people who want to be amplified. Generally on social, it can be very easy to someone to share their identity and to feel like, oh, okay, yeah, Avery as a Black woman is talking about this thing, so I'm going to point to her and say, Avery, make a comment on the hashtag say her name, and I want you to do this, so-and-so. However, that's generally great. I use that hashtag. I identify as someone who is very active in race and gender politics. Happy to lend my voice to the cause. Not every person, because of their identity, wants to be an advocate or an activist. So first, certainly identifying who wants to be that. If you're seeing someone maybe who is tweeting out this content, they want to share about their identity, their perspective, certainly that's kind of a green light. But if you're not sure, it never hurts to ask. That's a big thing in equity practice in general. If you're unsure, ask. And as you maybe get a preview, Google is your friend. However, going back to number 3, priming your audiences for engaging with the people you have amplified. Because maybe your audience might not, maybe majority not of this identity, or someone may genuinely want to come with their intention. But part of the equity work is recognizing that intention is subordinate to reception. And how people are receiving. So there are a lot of great meaning things, right? We always want to ask questions, certainly want to learn more about issues and things that are going around. Asking, oh, teach me. I'm sure we all know that that emotional labor often falls on marginalized identities. So we do want to be sure that when we're uplifting somebody encouraging our audience in our own posts, if we're quote tweeting or sharing on Facebook, encouraging people to first seek out whatever sources, and maybe if you want to have a conversation, try approaching that person as you would anybody you'd like to have a conversation with. And finally, Google is your friend. You can never Google too much or too little. There's plenty of things I've Googled. They're friends and colleagues, etc. I've seen a lot of various flags, be they nation flags, identity flags, all types of things. And instead of going to that person, I Googled it and said, oh, okay, here is this is a flag of a country I don't know. I've never seen this flag before. Let me Google its key features, and found out, oh, this is a Caribbean nation. That's really cool. So that way I kind of have that bit of understanding after they've already communicated their belonging and their feeling and community with this space. So please, before we move forward, I want to put a plug in for the chat. The chat function is going to be our friend throughout this entire session. If you have questions, notes, comments, feedback, please be engaging with one another and with me in the chat, and I'm happy to pause in a moment to address it, or we also have a Q&A after the session. So let's get into our platform overview. So Facebook, we probably are all most familiar with Facebook. The news feed is full of opportunities to connect with local audiences and build close networks with who we identify as joiners. These are people who are eager to sign up, take action, and share information. As this example here shows, they're the ones who will join you at a phone bank, knock doors with you, maybe sign a petition with you. So throughout this session, it's a little bit of a content activity called Stop Start. So there's just some best practices, some suggestions of things you might do on these various platforms to make your message delivery and engagement a little more successful. So please, if you never hear it from anyone else, hear it from me, limit your frequent long posts. Everybody's made a long post. Sometimes you got to use all the characters you have. But unfortunately, through all the noise on the news feed, long posts do not generally deliver. There's a feature of Facebook called the fold, we like to call it, where if you see it's the 300 characters before it says see more in a grayed out font. That's what we call the fold. If most people are not going to click beyond the fold. So if your post is longer, open up top with the key points you want to hit. And it was mentioned earlier in the chat about not engaging trolls. Similar vein, don't argue in the comments. They generally, there's been instances where conversations or arguments or disagreements in post comments have been able to help change ideas or maybe change people's opinions. But generally people who are cantankerous or agitators, disruptors in the comments, they're simply there to troll and drain your energy. And that energy is stuff you can save for things you can start doing, such as being extra vigilant about your link sources. Facebook has like a built-in fact checker. However, we have learned through two presidential electoral cycles that those cannot be 100% trusted. So being hyper vigilant about your link sources, reading the content before sharing, and sharing your personal experience with the subject. If you are a long-time door knocker, that's your thing. A lot of people like canvassing, or if they want, talk about your canvassing experiences. So like in this example, it's from my hometown, my home state. There's a register 46 counties in South Carolina. It took action on voter registration day to register voters in a predominantly Black neighborhood in my hometown. This is a great example of photos you can take, getting creative with your post types, because Facebook supports the most post types of the social platforms. So you can have videos, short videos, long videos, photos, graphic. People feel a lot of ways about GIF or GIF. I say GIF. You can use GIFs. But this is a great way because it's at once keeping folks, it's a great action shot. You get the story, you get what you're doing, and it also has a call to action. And we'll speak more about this in the upcoming content section of this presentation, of this session. Twitter is one of my personal favorites, maybe top 2 of the social platforms. And the timeline is a fascinating place that is full of, they generally tend to be more progressive leaning, depending on how you, what conversations you're having or what messages you like to share. And there's a wide range of experiences. There's folks who have been working in progressive politics for the past 25 years who are EDs of organizations. They are super volunteers. They are professional canvassers, all these sorts of things. And then there are people who are just getting started who may not understand what the purpose of what all we're doing. So there's a lot of opportunity to share information, to learn, and to build relationships and networks on the app platform. And so Twitter is great for breaking news, rapid response, and networking. So things to stop doing on Twitter: inadvertently amplifying mis and disinformation to counter it. So there's it's a popular sort of action folks will do, nickname dunking on someone. Ted Cruz is always getting dunked on because he's always having bad takes. Like with the NBA players who are COVID vaccine hesitant, he's like, I stand with you and your body, your choice, and kind of all this stuff. And everyone's like, oh, really? That's what it is now, Ted? Dunking on him. But however, quote tweeting, retweeting to explain this information or to counter it or share another perspective amplifies that message, right? So one of the best ways to do that is you can name what you're talking about. Like, I am challenging Ted Cruz to expand his discourse on bodily autonomy to include all, other sorts of topics, or stop using like sort of red herring, dog whistle technique on your social to speak to a certain demographic. And engaging with trolls again. The trolls are everywhere. They want to stop you at all the bridges, and you have to go around them. Finally, I want to encourage everybody to not feel like if you don't have a super huge following, you don't have thousands of followers, if you're not verified, if you are new to the platform, don't feel like your message is not getting out. Even if you have 1 or 2 or 3 folks who are always engaging your content, that still counts. That's the micro work, the individual relationship building and networking. So things to start doing: creating tweet threads to teach and inform. If you have a lot of expertise on a thing, make a tweet thread. Folks love tweet threads. Using the platform frequently for authentic communication. So this example here is actually from my Twitter on election day. I got up super, super early and was super, super nervous. I also am a food blogger in my free time, and I own a lot of markers. So I made a little sign. I made a little breakfast. It's fried eggs on ricotta toast, and I tweeted about it. People seem to like it. And there also was like a reminder to, oh, hey, did I not vote early? Let me go vote. I still have this chance. So I made sure to tweet it out super early that morning. So even my modest little following would know, 1, that I voted, and 2, maybe that jogged something in them to vote as well, and we could talk about voting. Also, browsing the Explore feature, find your hashtags that are relevant to movement issues. MoveOn, this is a plug for us and for the work that we do. We have Twitter rallies or tweet storms where we will encourage folks to tweet, try to drive a trend with a hashtag, or just to see what's going on. There's the news that's delivered on Twitter is slightly different than traditional media news, because it's in your hand. It's a breaking news kind of cycle. See what's going on and hop on a hashtag if you want to share your comments, share your notes, and see who you can engage with to build out that network. Instagram actually is my favorite platform. The creative first feature of the platform is what really makes it a good spot for sharing information, creating community, and spotlighting what's important to you. I'm a Joe Biden campaign alum. We were also on the South Carolina team. This is one of my coworkers. We just so happened to get an action shot on the stories. And that's one of the things I would encourage you all to start doing as well. But essentially stop. The main thing about Instagram, which is one of the most frustrating things about Instagram, is the links. So like web links, URLs are not live in your in feed post. So the photos that you post that remain on your account, your profile, links never work. You can't copy or paste them. They don't work in the comments. It's very limited. Um, but there are other ways to share links. So links in your bio, or they're testing a feature now. Fingers crossed it'll work the way they say it will. That everyone, regardless of your verification status or your follower count, will be able to share links in the stories. Very much looking forward to that. Only liking posts. So there is a hierarchy of engagement that sort of fuels the algorithm for Instagram. Likes, it used to be in 2015, a like would really help boost a post so others could see it, so they can find it either in things that you've liked, or it keeps feeding them and feed it to other people who are similar to your account. However, that is no longer the case. Liking a post is essentially the same thing as like seeing someone on the street, giving them a thumbs up and keeping moving. It may help that individual person. You don't even need a thumbs up, but it's not going to sort of cheat the algorithm, so to speak. Only posting to your feed, another thing, a way to get around the algorithm. There are a lot of different features of the app platform that you can use to share content. One is stories. That's one of the best ways to do that. Reels, feed posts, IGTV. So there's lots of different ways to engage there. And poor framing. Photography is all about framing, right? So for instance, we had to make this work. We were the only two folks out on our route, and we said, how are we going to do this? And so we got ourselves together, made sure we wanted to show our merch, like show our sweatshirts that we had on, be sure to show our hand cards, our kind of where we are without being too specific about our location beyond Columbia, South Carolina. And that's a really great way to tell the story of the event. So things you can kind of start doing that we've done a little bit here as an example: tagging the orgs that you're working with. So Joe for SC, that was our account, our primary campaign account for the state. Tag that way the organization, or tag Move On if you're doing Move On activities. It's a great way for us to see it, and that way we can share it to our feed and further amplify the message, show that our membership, our volunteers are active and they are out in their communities. They're phone banking, they're canvassing, they're signing petitions, they're doing things, sharing infographics as well. So say carousels, I'm sure we've all seen kind of those carousels, the account like Anti-Racist Daily. They have a lot of really great content. It'll be between like maybe 3 to 10 images in a single feed post. Sharing those to your story, there's a little paper airplane. Tapping that airplane, putting it in your story is a great way to expand the reach of accounts you want to support, as well as kind of beating that algorithm to make sure that other folks can see that really great information that's being shared. I talked about, so in that hierarchy of social engagement, metrics, tools, making comments on posts or saving posts. That's how you really tick it up. That's how you make sure that the reach of that post is going to go out to the entire account's following, and other people can see it. As another way to beat that algorithm. And finally, posting tweet shots. We call them tweet shots, or screenshots of tweets. It's the strangest thing we've noticed here at Move On, but if you look at our Instagram account, there are a lot of photos of tweets. People seem to really enjoy that. I like them. It's a great way to get the information without having to actually be on Twitter. And it's a way to sort of cross-pollinate the purposes of both platforms. And getting creative with your post types. Make a boomerang. Do something fun. You have phone banking lists without, like, what did you want to show that you're using like an old analog phone, phone bank sort of system. Wave your papers around, do a thing. Or if you're at an action, have your folks get together, do a short little video. There's a lot of opportunity there. So this wraps up our conversation on platform and sort of features. Please be sure to leave your questions, feedbacks, comments in the chat, whatever question you have. I'd love to see it, and hopefully we can address it in Q&A. So next, using your voice on social media. Excuse me before I check, make sure there's anything, see if anything's coming through chat. Okay. And so this session, we're going to talk about developing your voice for social as well as crafting your messages. So your platform is driven by your experiences. So like each of the examples used throughout the platform or throughout the presentation today so far have shown a piece of me, right? I wanted to connect with you all as my audience to this afternoon and demonstrate how it kind of can be done on social media, and how you can share your passions, your beliefs, and your stories, experiences. So a few top lines for doing that include showing up as you would offline. What is it? So I do want to pause for a moment to acknowledge James' question. What is it about the algorithm that requires beating? So the algorithm needs to be beaten. This is a great question. Thank you, James, for this question. Before we go for any further, the algorithm needs to be beaten because it is designed to not, your feed is chronological in a sense, but it's chronological based on things that other people like. It's showing you content that thousands of other people have clicked on, not necessarily content that you want to see. Engaging with content that you want to see has that same effect. And just like to Hanisa's point, it increases your chances of people engaging with your posts as well. And I think we follow each other on Twitter. I think we're mutuals, if I'm not mistaken. That name really reads familiar. So that's kind of why it needs to be beaten. It's always kind of the machine versus the human, so to speak, on social media, because it's not just, it used to be back in 2009, oh, your friend posted this 10 minutes ago, you see it when you're online and you don't see it 15 minutes after that. Like if there was a more temporal element to how information was shared on the platform, and it was purely chronological. But as ads and as we've gotten more advanced and as more people are joining the platform, it's too much money to leave on the table to just let people post and see things when you want to see things. Oh, wonderful. I'm a fan of you too. So yeah, that's kind of why it has to be beaten. It's not so much beaten, or kind of maybe not beaten, it's more so gamed. It's kind of a gamified system. So let's use that terminology going forward if that sort of helps. Or if beat works, we can use beat. So back into developing your voice on social, bring your personality. Understand what your communication style is. Are you more of a more outgoing person offline, kind of a hey world, look at me, this is what I want to share? Or are you more like, I'm gonna let somebody come to me and talk to me? In the spirit of spooky season, I'm very into What We Do in the Shadows, the show about vampires in Staten Island. Wonderful content. So, but it's super, super dry. It's very, very funny, very surprising. And I try to bring that into what I post a little bit. I like to think that I'm doing the big work, but it's something that I want to see and I want to read. So in that same vein, consider what content you enjoy engaging with or find helpful. Think about what you like about it. Do you like the author's voice? Do you like their word choice? Do you like the cadence? I tried to do a long Emily Dickinson dash in this slide. Google Slides wouldn't let me be great, but I love a long dash. It adds more flow to my speech and to my tweets and to my Facebook posts. So how can you incorporate those elements once you identify what you like in other content or what you find helpful? And finally, what I like to call engagement monitoring too. Also, please let me know if I'm saying this correctly. Hanisa's point about your engagement. There's a lot of different very like metric, algorithm, analytics type stuff that is available on platforms. However, for the average user, you won't get that back end information. So what I like to do and what I like to suggest, if you don't have that back end access, is something called engagement monitoring. So like in our example for Facebook, they got a lot of 20 comments or 20 likes, hearts, 4 comments, and that's kind of keeping it going. And you notice that when you post certain types of things, you get a certain reaction. So say you're telling a story about your involvement with, uh, this is a photo of an action from this week, actually, Monday, at the Capitol for Hold the Line on Build Back Better plan. We're encouraging congressional progressives to keep holding the line, keep holding out for what we need in this Build Back Better plan. This post, I put one on my personal account of the band. We had a band playing. It was a really beautiful time out on the yard, on the lawn. And folks kept put it on my Instagram story. Folks kept messaging me like, "Oh, this seems super dope. Like, this is super cool. Love this. Who's this band? What are y'all doing? How many groups are out there?" So I said, oh, okay, cool. People like when I post little videos about what I'm doing. So let me try to incorporate that. Next time I go to an action, let me take a little video or frame up a shot. Let me get a selfie here. So yeah, when you're getting a lot of comments, a lot of likes or shares or other sort of engagement, little stuff, try it again or try something different. It feeds into that being creative with your post types. There's a lot of different ways to tell a story, and social media is a really great place to experiment with that. Everybody has a little writer in them. I feel that way as a writer and as a social person. I think everybody has a really unique perspective to bring to these platforms, and they need it, honestly, because I can't keep seeing the same TikTok challenges and dances and cheesy recipes. We need to see something. We got to switch it up. We have it. We have that capacity to do so. And now crafting your messages. So successful social media messaging really boils down to the relationship between the speaker, the topic, and your audience. Part of what makes a great message or an effective message is deciding what you want to say to your audience. You have to think with the end in mind with writing for social media. What do you want your audience to do after receiving your message? In the Facebook post, again, going back to that, there was a clear call to action being sign up at the link in my bio, join me here next time. It can be a little more subtle, like with the Twitter post I had from Election Day, saying, hey, I voted and I'm having breakfast. Maybe you should have a little nibble. And if you haven't already voted, vote or encourage someone else to vote. So what do you want your audience to do? Always think about the sort of end goal. That'll help you in crafting that message. And it sounds like a very long process, but as this exercise will show, we're going to get into next, it can be done super fast. And then understand who your audience is and where they are. If you have a larger following on Facebook, or you have some really dedicated tweeters with you on Twitter, you may not have a whole lot of them, but you can have 4 or 5 people you can count on for a retweet. Or you have friends and family on your Instagram who just kind of want to follow what you're doing, keeping up with each other, but you know they're interested in what you're doing, so sharing that would be effective there. Understand what perspectives your audience is bringing to your content. Again, this is also part of our equity lens. What about them? What can we kind of imagine that how they might receive our information? How might their perspective affect how they might respond? And being, of course, always mindful of our word choice, of what we want to say, how we say it, and how that may be received by people, one, who are directly impacted or who are closer to that pain, and how we can push them closer to that power, show that we are helping, that we want to help, we want to be a resource, be kind of a buzzword, an ally, and what allyship really looks like. And then identify the points that will convey the importance of your story. This is kind of a quick little formula that I personally follow when crafting messages for social. Naming the issue. Share your experience with a piece of the issue. Extrapolate that to include your audience. Issue your call to action. So, for example, the Freedom of the Vote Act is the latest iteration of the For the People voting protections legislation that's in Congress currently. As a Black woman, as a Black Southern woman, as a voter, I take voting very seriously as part of a lineage for me. My grandmother was one of the first Black people in my hometown to vote post Reconstruction. There was a 72-year pause in the Negro vote, a Black vote. It was Negro then. There was a that's what it is in the newspaper. It says 72-year pause in Negro vote broken. Um, and there's a picture of my grandmother voting in County Square, which is also where I vote. And that's just very important to me. And that was such a powerful moment and such an important moment for not only Greenville, not only South Carolina, not only the American Southeast, but for our democracy. And we have an opportunity right now in our own lifetime to be part of that history, to protect what others have worked so hard to earn and to defend. And that legacy is now with us. It's a living piece of history. So I will be not only voting every chance I get, I am phone banking, I'm text banking, I am knocking doors, I'm tweeting about it. Join me. Um, that's kind of the first story that always comes to mind for me. Uh, but we can do that with kind of any issue. That's sort of how that formula sort of fits in. And then complementing your narrative with videos, photos, graphic interchange interfaces. Generally, I would have that photo is a yellow piece of a newspaper, and that really kind of grounds it. Posting that next to my own voting selfie, and kind of thinking about the history of that moment and where we are. So, what questions, feedback, comments, notes do we have right now before we go into our activity? I'm very excited about this activity, and I feel like you all will like it. And I hope you do. So please tell me everything about it. So I want to see if there's any, give y'all a second to sort of digest this. This is a lot of information before we get into our activity. Seeing no notes as of yet, let's dive right in. So I want to give us practice crafting a message about a progressive issue for social media. That progressive issue, spoiler, is the Freedom of the Vote Act. So a little bit of information about the Freedom of the Vote Act is the latest version of voting rights legislation. It includes provisions for voter access, such as how many polling places per capita, per county, a state must have, what types of ballots states must accept, so mail-in ballots, drive up, that was a big thing last year, drive-through voting, what protections there are for voters, as well as expanding voting rights. Those are the kind of key tenets of this act. So what I would like for us to do is break out into breakout rooms. I have written here that we can do it by platform because I thought that would be most helpful. That may or may not. Talk to me in the chat. I don't know if that's a feature we can do. If not, we just have to break out. And I want to give you all about 5 minutes to write your own story, write your own message for a post of a platform on your choice. So decide first if you want to be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, who specifically you want to talk to on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What do you want them to do on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? And what sort of call to action we can have. Martha has a question. Attending a march for women's rights in Texas. How do we promote and share to get more views on Twitter? Take pictures, videos. If y'all got any march chants, protest chants going on, get a clip of that and say, hey, we need your voice. Come out here, join us. We're going to meet at a landmark. We're going to meet at the corner of X and Y Street. We'll be here at noon tomorrow. Join us, march with us. We need your voice. Hashtagging women's vote, the women's march. Great clarifying question. So yeah, using the hashtag, I think there is a hashtag for Women's March or Women's March 2021, hashtag Texas Women or Lone Star Ladies, whatever you want to call it, or kind of finding out what that hashtag is, sharing that message, get some video, get some photos, post that, or like whatever sort of organizing thing. But let me get to this clarifying question raised in the chat. We're crafting a message to promote the Freedom of the Vote Act. And any actions that we can do, whether it's signing a petition, phone banking, text banking, canvassing, etc. So we are promoting this. That's what the message is. And we do have 15 minutes left. I want to give us about 10 minutes for this activity so we can get back into questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it to my very capable session leader. See if we can get into a breakout room to craft these messages. And then in your breakout room, I want you to spend about 5 minutes writing, about 5 minutes sharing out. And then we're going to come back together. If you want to share out your message, let me know in the chat and we can share going forward. Does that sound good? And if we can't do breakout rooms, we can just do it where we are. We're kind of all in our own rooms and space thanks to our virtual experience of this summit. So you're in the best place to do your writing, to tell your story in your space where you generally are. So yeah, let's take about 5 minutes to craft your message, to select your platform, understand what you want your audience to do. So it's a fictional thing. Let me also make that up too. It doesn't have to be a real action. So say you want them to sign your petition, you started a petition with Move On, you want to promote that, or your text banking, your phone banking, you want people to join you want to recruit to that. You're going to a local demonstration. So kind of be expansive with your creativity as far as the call to action. So I just wanted to clarify that too. It doesn't have to be a real thing. It doesn't have to be a real action or event you want to recruit people to or want people to take in your message. So let's spend about 5 minutes doing that. Come back at 3:57 Eastern. And I'm also here for questions. So if you do have questions in this process, hit the chat, let me know, and I can address them in real time. Let's see if I can get us like some good thinking jazz going, right?
People with ADHD save 10 hours studying with this Chrome extension. But no, by all means, go.
See some really great questions. So as far as TikTok is an ever-evolving platform, but it is a great way to reach young voters, young activists. Just for the sake of expediency, Just kind of want to cover the big three. So similar things that work on these other platforms definitely work for TikTok. There's just that added element of leading with creative, being comfortable putting yourself on video, hopping on to so similar kind of things as far as gaming the algorithm with that, hopping onto trending sounds or things that are popular amongst other users on the app. So a lot of stuff people are doing, like using the green screen effect is a really popular thing. So showing a demonstration in your background while you talk through a point to illustrate what you're doing. The like that one is a great one to sort of describe things with. That's what I mean by hopping on trends. But the same thing about sharing your story, crafting a message, and giving someone something to do. I guess the most one-to-one with TikTok would be Instagram, but also kind of Twitter too, because there is a lot of people who have varying expertise on the platform, regardless of age or location, etc. So yeah, still we could work on TikTok. Just made these choices, these kind of quote unquote the big three. That's kind of how we got here. John, so yeah, to your point, very important, John. You're absolutely right. Yeah, TikTok is certainly bigger for younger voters. Absolutely. Uh, and great point for sure. But yes, back to the same messaging points. Definitely work on that platform as well. Let's see. Should he put his draft in the chat? You can, Thomas, if you want to, but not necessarily. So now we're kind of actually wrapping up the like writing portion of it. If you're still working on it, still writing, that's no big deal. You can still kind of take this time to work on it. And we can share out. So I'm seeing some in the chat from Nick and from Larry. Are y'all cool letting me read these out so we can kind of just talk about them, putting your voice out here with our group? So let's start with Larry, because that's where I'm looking at right now. The Freedom to Vote Act ensures that every eligible voter is able to conveniently exercise their rights as citizens and to participate in our democracy as intended by our founding fathers. Your active support of this legislation is also action in support of democracy. Chef's kiss. Love that. It felt very natural, even just sight reading it. It felt like something that's very straightforward, very natural. And you can kind of expand that. You can take this message, you can take it to TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. Pair it with photo, with video. You could do a voiceover. So say you do want to do a TikTok or a reel for Instagram, share it with do a voiceover over some footage or pictures of voting, of different landmarks, of different things. So this is super, super great. And Nick shared dope. Okay, so it's a little different, but we're gonna roll with it. I love it anyway. I was inspired by the awesome movie Kiss the Ground that's about regenerative and sustainable agriculture and how it helps reverse climate change. So I took action and started a petition to help heal the planet. You can take action too. Please sign and share with the hashtags Kiss the Ground, agriculture, organic farming, climate crisis. Crushed it. Love that. John on TikTok first. I'll go with that. I'm into that, John. TikTok first. John's comment, TikTok video is then repurposed to Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, YouTube, etc. I'd recommend a TikTok first approach for the time being. I'm into that, especially if your audience, it sounds like to me, John, check me if I'm projecting, that you're really interested in getting younger voters engaged or getting them charged up, getting them ready to take action, sharing information, getting that out, and then spreading it out, sort of ripple effect to other platforms. And I like that. I like where your head is at as far as content strategy. You know your audience, you know what you want to talk about, you know where you want it to be. We have 5 minutes left. Yikes, the time has gone super, super fast. So I do want to get to some questions. If anyone else does want to share your message in the chat, I encourage you to share that message in the chat so other folks can read it, see your story, what we've done throughout this activity. But let me see. I think there was a question. Oh, we have a question from Mary in the chat. Do you have any suggestions for when it is best to use one platform over another? Yes. So it depends, like similar to John's point about TikTok, leading with a TikTok first strategy. That's kind of one way or another, depending on where you want your content to go, who you want to talk to, what you want your audience to be. So Facebook is generally an older platform. The audiences are older folks. It's kind of where the content sort of ends up on the internet as opposed to start. But they are the Facebook group, the Facebook crowd rather is your joining crowd. They're going to be really interested in, like, they're going to be pretty reliable because generally Facebook is a very, very blanket general statement. Those are people you actually know. You've had to accept them into your friend as a friend. So they're people you've known, you've met throughout your travels in life. So they have more of an offline connection with you as well. Or even if you met them on the platform or through other social media or at a conference or whatever, Facebook is kind of where we share a little bit more of our lives, right? People post pictures of their children. You kind of can see where you work and all the other stuff. So it feels more, that parasocial interaction is a little stronger on Facebook. So maybe that's where you want to go if you do want kind of, and it's also, let's be a little calmer of a social media experience. Twitter is great for building that same kind of network community, but around interest as opposed to location. So that's kind of, if you want to engage more people on climate change, you can find you can find climate Twitter. There's a lot of more pockets and niches on Twitter that you can kind of reach out to. Instagram, if you just want to post beautiful things and talk about and kind of give really great explainers about concepts, breaking it down in very digestible, approachable content, Instagram is great for that. And TikTok kind of puts it all together. It's a video, it's exciting. It's that video sort of feed, is constantly feeding you content. That content can be shared out, cross-pollinating, like putting screenshots of Twitter on Instagram. Fully believe in cross-pollinating. That's how we get delicious hybrids and get our message spread out. And also I do want to say, if you don't have to have every platform to Mary's question, you can have the ones that you want. Ooh, yeah, y'all are doing things that I like, and I didn't even have to ask you to do it. Share your handles in the chat. I love this. Build that network. That's what this conference is all about. Scaling our progressive movement, connecting with one another. So absolutely share your handles. But yeah, to Mary's point, you don't have to have every platform. Not everyone needs everything, and there shouldn't be too much pressure to feel like you need to have every platform. Picking what you like is also a very, very important thing. If you like Twitter, you like that very constant kind of gamified, little sweet shot of adrenaline every time a new tweet pops up, that's for you. You make that your base. If you like Instagram, you like Facebook, you like TikTok, do it. You like all of them, have all of them. And Catherine shared her draft. Hashtag Freedom of the Vote Act. Let your voices be heard. Your vote matters. Period. Expand your voter rights nationwide. Mail-in ballots. More voting. Call your senator in support now. That's what I'm talking about. So we have 1 minute left before I have to let you all go. Thank you so much for joining this session. Learn your platform. Use your voice. I'm very excited to have shared this space and this time with you. Thank you for your questions, for your feedback, for your discourse. Keep engaging in the chat and in the overall platform chat. If you like, we're having an advanced level session to talk more about social media strategy, leveraging social media for digital organizing tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Just plugging my session. If you like this one, you're going to love that one. I'm leading that as well. Thank you so much. I'm Ben Avery Allen, and this is the Progressive Power Summit. Enjoy your break. See you later this weekend.